What's up, everyone? My name is Reed Kemp with Reed Kemp Outdoors, and today, by a few requests, we're going to talk about 223 versus 5.56, the differences you need to know to be safe and to choose the ammo that best fits you. So, getting right into it, you do have a very wide variety of ammo when you go with either a 5.56 or a 223. This is pretty much the number one round that America has adopted. It's loved by everybody. A lot of people use them, a lot of people have them. But there are definitely a few differences between the two. Let's talk about some history. First off, the 223 started off in the early 60s. This was the parent case later on for the 5.56. The 5.56 started in about 1963 when it was created, and then it was later sent into production. And it wasn't until 1964 that we saw civilian use also with the 5.56. So they are the exact same length, just about, and the biggest difference we see mainly comes from the powder and the lead projectile. So you can find 5.56 in 55 grain, which is the exact same as 223. This is a 55 grain, which is typically your usual round in a cartridge for 223. So this does come in 5.56, but I chose a 62 grain, which is 5.56 NATO, which is the round that they adopted. So I chose these two because they're a little bit more comparable. It would almost be the exact same thing if I brought out a 55 grain 5.56. So this one is a full metal jacket by PMC. This is the PMC bronze. And then this is the X-Tac LAP, which stands for light armor piercing. I believe it has a steel core, so that's what makes it a little bit heavier, but almost on a head-to-head, the lead is almost a little bit smaller on this 5.56, but it makes up for it in the weight being more grains with that steel core. So we'll dive into the ballistics of it. So the ballistics on these are very similar. When it started with the 223, it was all right. It's obviously become better since the mid 60s. Everyone revamps it and adds their own little spin to it. But typically this one is about 3,200 feet per second. And this one is about 3,100 feet per second. And it's going just a little bit slower because it's got the bigger lead on the end with the steel on the inside for the light armor piercing. So it's going a little bit slower. But when the military adopted this in 1963, they wanted that. They wanted a little bit more knockdown power, per se, what people tend to argue over what is knockdown power. But that's a different topic. But and then this one is going, like I said, a little bit faster. So, I mean, it really comes down to a few hundred feet per second, maybe 100 feet per second. So no big deal. This one is 1,300 foot-pounds of energy coming out of the barrel. And this one's 1,250. So even though this is going faster, it's a little bit less energy coming out. So to combat that, what they did is they added a little bit more pressure in this cartridge. This one's coming out at about 60,000 PSI. And the 223 is about 55,000 PSI. And that's one of the reasons why when you compare them, you have to be very careful when you take these into a different gun as far as 5.56 and 223. You can always shoot a 223 out of a 5.56, but you cannot shoot a 5.56 out of a gun chambered in 223 safely. It can be done, but it is not safely recommended at all, because what happens is the chamber in a 5.56 has to be a little bit deeper, because with a little bit more pressure, it expands farther, so it needs room to expand out. So that's not a problem if you put a 223 in, because it has that room to expand, but it won't reach its full expansion potential since it's made for this. Now you can see why it would be problematic to do it on the flip side, because when this needs room to expand, it can't. So it could cause long-term chamber damage or even safety reasons to the person operating the firearm. So that is one thing that you always want to look into when you're buying a rifle in the AR platform. What you want to do is look for if it's a 223 or 5.56. So if you're wanting something that really wants that's shooting that 62 grain, I would definitely recommend going for something chambered in 5.56. And not to mess around, like I said, it can be done safely, but not at all recommended for the safety of the shooter or the weapon itself. Now let's put them up against some steel and see what they can do. My predictions is they will be very similar. They're very similar rounds, but I do believe that this light armor piercing will have some difference in the impact. We're going to be shooting the target about 30 yards away, 35 yards away. So none of the bullet drop or anything will be a huge factor. Like I said, you might see that 1.5 inch drop. So I'll compensate for that as myself, the shooter. But the biggest thing is we're just going to shoot them and have some fun. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to get a head-to-head comparison like we did on the 30-30 and 45-70. So let's ring some steel. So today we'll be shooting both of these rounds out of my Delton AR-15. There's a lot of misconceptions about this gun. It's very demonized by the big media and a lot of the tech that you see. They like to put a very bad name on it just because it looks scary. But honestly, I wouldn't even feel comfortable hunting anything maybe larger than a deer with this. It's much more of a varmint round or such. So today we're going to put the 5.56 and the 2.23 both in it. Like I said, this one is set up for 5.56 and 2.23, so it is safe to shoot both. If you have a gun just for 2.23, you cannot safely shoot out a 5.56. It will work, but it is not guaranteed that you, the shooter, will be safe or the gun will be in operating condition after that. So we're just gonna shoot off a few rounds here close, do some plinking, shoot some spray paint cans, and we'll see what happens. So we got our eyes and ears. We always want to be safe. So see what we got. That's the 2.23, and in a second we'll show you the 5.56. So here's what it did to the target. There are definitely some craters. Like I said, that's a very fast moving round compared to even the 45-70 and the 30-30 that we had seen in the previous video. I mean, you have to take into factor also that we're about 20-25 yards away, so it would not be that much of an impact at say 100 or 200 more yards. It would be greatly reduced, but that's a pretty good dent out of a 1/2 inch AR-500 gong. So we'll see how much of a difference there is with the 5.56. Okay, so now this is going to be a few rounds out of the same AR-15 with some light armor piercing 5.56. Let's see what it did. So there we go. Definitely made a short work of those spray paint cans. Let's take a look at the differences between the two rounds on impact. You can see that one right there. That's the 5.56. Is definitely a deeper impact. Took out a little bit more of that metal than the 2.23. My bad. And you can see in the light that those took out a good bit. The 45-70 barely even scratched it. So much faster moving projectile with that steel core. It's definitely deadly. So when it comes down to it, the things you need to remember, you can shoot a 2.23 out of a 5.56, but not vice versa. So there you go, everyone. Those are the standout differences between 5.56 and 2.23. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments. If you have any feedback, anything else you want to see. I think I'm going to call this series Lead to Lead, kind of a cheesy play on words. I might make a playlist for y'all. Let me know which rounds or calibers you'd be interested in, any gun reviews. And I think soon I'm going to actually start on bushcraft camping videos. I'm getting back into camping a lot, and I think we're going to start going camping out in the woods with some supplies, an axe, a backpack, and whatnot, and start making shelters. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. So I hope y'all have a good day, and if you liked what you saw, leave it a like and subscribe. See y'all next time.